focused on creating and understanding what their environment really does, both for themselves and for other people around you. You know, how strong is your context? How clear are you on your values? You know, one of the things I ask businesses is, are your values just a marketing tool that you came up with and wordsmith?
Yeah! Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. As always, I am your host, Suri, and today I'm joined by Barry Mitchell, who is super excited about this topic. Doesn't really come to me with topics ever. For the first time in 1,000 years, he's come to me with the topic.
Hey,
How are you, Barry? How goes it?
Oh shit! But anyway,
Mike didn't pick that up.
what? I'm pitching dude. Nasty cough. Anyway, how's it, Sully? Hello, everybody. Good to be with you on this Uncovering Greatness podcast. Yeah. Today's topic, pretty cool, actually. I think it's pretty cool. You may not think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool.
You know why I think this is and now I've had a little bit more time to think about it, right? And I feel like this topic, for example, has probably changed over the past 40 years. I don't know how would you feel about that, but I feel like
I'm not that old, Joe.
no, neither of us are. I'm just basing it on, people weren't so focused on the contents, they were focused on doing what they did, getting it done, building, that foundation of family and all of that type of stuff. Where I feel like now it's expanded out, where the focus is more content than it is context. But you get into the topic better than I can, so.
Yeah, so interesting you said that, Sully, because I really connected with this 2007 Phoenix, Arizona on a 2-day sales explosion and then a 5-day franchisee course with an amazing trainer called Blair Singer, one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors, and that took me on a journey working with Blair, learning to do what Blair does, and ultimately working with Robert Kiyosaki. And it was in that 7-day program that I really, really connected to the power of context. And some of you may be asking, what does context actually mean?
Mm.
Well, in today's world, and I see it more and more and more as the world has changed, people have become more and more focused on content.
Yeah.
What can I get? I saw a Facebook page just now, and the comment was, many Gen Zers won't even apply for a job unless they see the salary. Well, that means the thing they're focused on is content.
Yeah.
They don't know who the company is, they don't know what the values are, they don't know what the company does, and the only thing they're looking at is the money that they're going to earn. And that's content. And for me, it's like, sure, I get it. You're going to get a job, you want to get paid well and everything. But we seem to have distilled this whole world down to content and things that have zero friggin' meaning. Yet we give them so much meaning.
Yeah.
And a while ago I did a video with you called Your Cup is Broken, or Our Cup is Broken and Our Cup is Breaking. And I think it's, it goes back to that. And it's, my question today is, how strong is your cup? Yeah. And, I've just had the opportunity of doing a talk to a leadership team at a wonderful company called Xlink. And we were talking about how to manage change. And I was talking to them about how to manage change. And it was exactly on this topic. And, my words were, in order to, the bigger the game you want to play, the bigger the life you want to live, the tougher you have to friggin' be.
Yeah.
Not the tougher the things you have to do. Yes, to do tough things. It's not about whether you know how to do them or not. Well, it's less about whether you know how to do them or not. It's more about who you need to be. And being comes down to, who are you? How much heat and pressure can you withstand? What are your values? What are your rules of life? People throw around this word integrity, but what gives you integrity? In Alan Walter's words, integrity, one of the meanings of integrity is wholeness. What makes you whole? Who are you? When people meet you, who are you? So today I want to spend a little bit of time talking on a concept that I've been teaching for nearly 20 years, that I learned from Blair Singer, that I believe so many people just misalign. and there's so much misalignment with it in the world, and that is context.
So why is context so important to you?
Why is context so important to me? Because context defines who I am. You know, the bigger the game you want to play, the stronger the context you have to have. So I'm just going to jump up on this flip chart, and you know, hopefully you guys, you may not be able to see me, but what you will see is I'm going to draw a cup. And if you look at your life, if you look at your business, it's like a cup, yes?
Yeah.
And really, most people in this world is all about tense. You know, people view, you know, are people rich by what you drive and what you wear? Goodness me, what a poor indication of whether people are rich or not. What that might mean is that they're just in friggin' debt. But the true thing is you look at people. I mean, how many clips do we see? And recently, you know, I've been talking about this. These guys that say, you know, a woman won't even look at you unless she knows what you drive or what you wear. Yeah. Well, friggin' heck, how shallow and how small could you be that you're going to decide whether you want to date a guy based on what he wears? He may be a friggin' crook, an absolute friggin' crook. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that contents aren't important, and you know, the things that you want in life aren't important. Experiences and nice clothes and nice clothes. I get it. There's so many great things to have in the world. Yeah. But in the pursuit of this, and you know, what are the contents in our business? It's people, money, processes, systems, brand, products, you know, assets, offices, factories, vehicles, and that's pretty similar to the stuff in our lives, isn't it? And there's this pursuit of contents. But the reality is there are two things that are always there. When we're successful, they're there. When we're not successful, they're there. When we're trying something new, they're there. When we're doing something that's boring and old hat, they're there. When we are single, they're there. When we're married, they're there. When we start a business, they're there. When we employ new people, they're there. And you know what they are? They are heat and pressure. And for human beings, heat and pressure come in the form of emotion. And heat and pressure, stuff that comes, and when the heat and pressure comes, are you going to crack? What's going to stop you from cracking? Yeah. And what's going to stop you from cracking is this thing called context. In simple terms, the stronger your context, the clearer your context, the stronger your cup, the more heat and pressure you will stand. The more heat and pressure you will stand, the bigger the game of life you can play. Yeah. What makes up context? Values. What are your values? What are your rules, your operational rules of life? What's your code of honor? And I learned this from Blair Singer. What's your code of honor? Your set of rules that determines how you behave. What's your philosophy to life? What's your mission in life? A strong cup needs a strong handle, especially when it gets hot. What's your mission? What's your purpose? What's your ideology? What's your philosophy? How do you play life? So you know, when we talk about this thing called context, that's what we're really talking about. We're talking about how strong is your cup, and when the heat and pressure gets turned up, can you stand in the heat? Because you have a set of values that guides how you're going to play the game. Because it doesn't matter what you do in life, it's going to get hot.
Yeah, I mean, like, just as you were doing that, there was like so many different examples around context that came to my mind. Like, your favorite movie of all time. You said this. I'm not saying that.
Which one? 300.
300.
Yeah.
The Spartans had a very strong context, incredibly strong context. Their mission, their values,
very clear set of rules, very clear set of values, very clear set of the way they did things, and that's what made them one of the finest fighting forces this world has ever seen, in my opinion.
And one thing broke their context.
Someone broke their code of honor. So what happened is if you watch the movie 300, yeah, a family allowed a baby to live, and I mean, I'm not saying do this in this world by any means, no. but it broke their set of rules, and over time the hunchback so badly wanted to be part of the army, but he couldn't be part of the army because he would have been a weak link. and he ended up betraying them. And it comes back to context.
Yeah.
It comes back to how tight are the set of rules. And let's face it, in those days, life was brutal.
Oof.
It was friggin'
Life was nuts.
brutal.
Like nuts.
Absolutely brutal. And so the better you wanted to survive in life,
You needed it.
and that's the same in any game that we play today. You want to play international sport, the difference between the top rugby teams, a lot of times the difference in the top rugby teams, I believe, and in any sport, is not necessarily players.
No.
If you look at football, which I know very little about, but you're a football fan. Tell me that the top 5 sides in the Premier League don't have just as good players.
Top 5, yeah.
Top 10.
Quality is pretty much the same.
Yeah. What's the difference? It's what brings them together as a team.
Yeah.
It's their mission, it's their vision, it's their rules, it's how they play together as a team. I believe that probably the greatest football manager of all time is Alex Ferguson. Why? Because at Man United, he held a very tight context, held a very tight set of rules. If you didn't play by his rules, move.
And I mean, we saw that. We saw that with Beckham. We saw that with a lot of superstars, right? We saw that with Cristiano today. If you didn't play by the set of rules that I have or that the team has, actually that's more important. The set of rules that the team has.
But the team buys into the set of rules, don't it?
It's
the organization buys into the set of rules.
It's not my rules.
And I see it today is that there's too many cases when it comes to teams that people are like, yes, I want to play on your team, but I'll play by my rules. I'll play how I want to play. I'll wear what I want to wear. I'll be who I want to be, but you must still give me what I want.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. That's not how it works. The cohesiveness of great teams are because I believe we are prepared to be and behave in similar ways. It doesn't mean if you don't want to behave like that, you're wrong or you're a bad person. It just means you don't fit in. And there's that wonderful acronym FIFO. FIFO. I'll use the polite version: fit in or fly off.
Yeah.
But the reality, I always ask people, if you don't like being on this team, why do you want to hang around? And often the response is, because I have to. No, you don't.
No.
Go find another job. Go somewhere else. Go play on a team. And I think in whenever you're building, in the years that I've worked with business owners, and I've worked with thousands of different business owners and helped thousands of business owners and businesses build teams over the 30 years that I've been in business and the 20 years that I've been training. The biggest thing that holds a team together and makes a team successful is not the content, it's the context.
Yeah.
It's how solid are your rules. That the bigger the game you want to play, the tighter the context you have to play by.
So, I mean, you said that you've worked with thousands of businesses and business owners and really helping them with their context, code of honor, the set of rules and how they play the game as a business.
So,
have you seen a lot of people sort of leave because they don't buy into the rules?
I wouldn't say a lot, but people leave.
Yeah.
Because they don't fit in. The problem with a lot of times is we focus on content.
Yeah.
So content, and so I'll take this into, I'll go in and I'll work with salespeople. So what do salespeople want? Teach me how to sell. That's the doing. You can learn how to sell anyway. Go online. There are 10,000 gurus that'll teach you, use this sales and do this, and no problem. But the reality is, what stops you from doing it? Your little voice, your rules, the heat and pressure when you start applying it. So it's less. The content is less important than the context. You can pick up. You can learn how to do something, but if you can't do it, what's the point of learning how to do it? So it's that it's what the context does. It allows us to do the doing in an environment where we can handle heat and pressure.
I mean, it's a funny one, but I enjoy it because it actually makes a lot of sense, right? So if you're going to become a drug dealer, there's a set of rules that they play by. If you don't fit into those rules, you can't be a drug dealer.
You lose your life.
Exactly. And that's,
you can't. You're not going to say, "Hey, Sully, you know what? I want to make some money doing the shit you do, but I don't like playing by your rules." So
I want to shoot people.
It ain't going to happen. If you want to go into the army and you want to be a soldier, you play by the soldier's rules. If you want to play for the Springboks, you play by the Springboks rules. You wear green and gold. You wear the Springbok on your chest. Those are the rules.
Yeah.
And if you don't play by those rules, you don't fit into the team. So if we look and say, well, it's acceptable in those areas, why is it not acceptable in other areas? Because I believe for most people they actually don't want to play on a championship team. They like the idea of being on a championship team. They like the idea of having the result of a championship team result. But playing on a championship team means doing stuff and doing things that you don't necessarily want to do all the time. And what holds that together is context. Why? Because it defines your behaviors. And your behaviors determines your mindset, and that creates the results. So it's this idea of context. You know, I think when I look at the world today, I think our cup is broken. We're losing values and morals and ethics and rules and our code of honor that you watch it all over the world. Things are breaking.
Yeah.
And because you don't agree with certain rules, it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you don't fit in certain places.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You know, if you want to come and work at Uncovering Greatness and work with us, we have a set of rules. Yeah. We have a code of honor. And you may not like how we do things. So if you don't like how we do things and who we are, we'll go somewhere else because you ain't going to fit in. And I'm not going to change our business's rules and our business to suit one person.
Yeah, and I mean, how often do you, especially like small business owners and entrepreneurs, how often do they do that? Because so this person is a star performer, so we have changed the rules to suit them, because if we lose them, our revenue is going to drop. And what happens to the team when you do that?
It starts cracking, and eventually everything falls out.
Sure.
Your cup starts cracking. When you don't hold tight context, if you take it into military, if you don't hold the context and hold the rules when you're under fire, people get killed. You know, in business, we don't see that death. The problem is it comes slowly. It comes over months, sometimes over years, when we break the rules and don't do what we should be doing and don't behave. And suddenly what happens is people say, oh, look, this business collapsed. No, it didn't. It didn't. Generally, it just doesn't suddenly collapse. It's because people are just consistently not playing by a set of rules that they should play by that makes it strong.
Yeah, and I mean, you see that with so many businesses in the years, and I think you've also watched that documentary 2 Weeks of Fail.
I've seen it in my own freaking business over 18 years.
Where there's a set of rules here, there's a set of rules here, there's a set of rules here.
Yeah.
There's no set of rules for the whole organization. So you're playing by your own set of rules, this group is playing by own, and then eventually, like you say, over time...
Well, it creates confusion.
Yeah.
It creates a whole lot of unnecessary heat and pressure, and eventually the cracks come. What happens? Oh, the boss doesn't do this, so I didn't have to do it. But people won't tell the boss that directly, so they'll just go do it. And then you create all this. Whereas my observation, my belief is that in any organization, there's one set of rules. You play by these rules. You know, one of the great examples of context is Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
You know, it was a criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
And
it's how they operated.
Guess what? But they operated in a certain way. They did certain things, and if you did it in the way that they did it, you fit in.
Yeah.
And you did it. There's the one scene where they fed the guy the goldfish. Remember that?
Yeah.
Why? He was a star performer, but he didn't fit in.
Yeah.
He didn't connect with what they did. He didn't connect with taking drugs. He didn't connect with doing things underhand. He didn't want to be the criminal. So they didn't fit in. So they fed him a goldfish and kicked him out. You know, so. And the reality is, why, if he wasn't that person, why even think of going into that environment? You know, why wanting to be there? And you know, wonderful saying I learned from a guy called Kelly Ritchie: environment is greater than will. So essentially, that's what you do when you create context. You create environment. Today, I don't think enough people are actually focused on creating and understanding what their environment really does, both for themselves and for other people around you. You know, how strong is your context? How clear are you on your values? You know, one of the things I ask businesses is, are your values just a marketing tool that you came up with and wordsmithed in a marketing thing that sound good and look nice on a wall that you don't live? Or are they real things that you live? And a lot of times in many organizations they're not. They're just word things. And when you watch how they behave, they don't uphold those words, and that means there's no congruence within their behaviors. You know, so.
But I mean, so you say, so for example, creating context is creating an environment. right?
Yeah.
Creating an environment. So your example, not your example, but the way you, for example, describe a government, the role of a government is to create an environment for everybody, all the citizens in it, to be able to succeed.
Yeah, that's
safely and
that's my view on a government.
Yes.
But whether it's a government of a country or a government of a business,
you create the context.
Leadership's job is to create context, to create an environment within which people can survive and thrive safely, not necessarily easily, but safely.
Yeah.
Because there's clear rules. There's no ambiguity. There's what happens in environments where there's not clear rules? There's ambiguity. Have you ever worked for someone who you're not sure how they're going to act between today and tomorrow? You make a mistake, they go, oh, okay, never mind. They make a mistake tomorrow, they cuckold over. Well, now you create confusion. And so whatever the rules are, the rules are. But as long as if there's clarity, so within those environments, and my view on a government is that government's job is to create an environment within which people can succeed and succeed safely. Not necessarily, and I'll say it again, not necessarily easy.
Yeah.
And most people want it to be easy. They want to come into a business, earn lots of money and have it easy. They want to start a business, earn lots of money and have it easy. They want to do some form of sport and have it easy. You ask any person that has achieved anything meaningfully successful in their life, they'll tell you it's never friggin' easy. It's damn hard.
Yeah.
But what held them in that space is their rules of life. What are their rules? How do they play life? What are their values? What is their code of honor? What are their operational rules? What's their philosophy to life? And they stick to that. And that's why context is, and always friggin' will be, more important than content. And context protects your content as you build it.
So then how important is it then for leaders to stick to the context and to stick to the rules? So, and also going back to, because you spoke about buy-in.
So it's called integrity, Suli.
Okay.
How can you expect, for me this is the world I come out of, this is my brain. How can I expect you to do something if I'm not prepared to be like that?
Because you're the boss.
Yeah, so what happens is, look, there's difference between behavioral rules and operational rules. If the way I run my business is I come to work at 10 o'clock, but my business only requires me to be there at 10 o'clock, and I work until 8, 9 at night, well, that's how I operate. But if I say that I'm going to do something, well, I do it. That's called behavior. If I give you an agreement, I do the agreement. If I need to be responsible, do I live above the line and be responsible, or do I make excuses and justification? See, those are behaviors. So a lot of times people mix up operations and behaviors. Yeah. So if you're clear on what people are meant to do operationally, and then you're clear of the behaviors. So if one of our behavioral agreements is live above the line, which means we take responsibility. So no laying blame, justification. We had it in our meeting this morning, this friggin' thing, cell phone. I detest cell phones in a meeting, but sometimes I'm the friggin' worst. Does that make sense? Yeah. And when you called me on it, I didn't make any excuses. I went, okay, I get it, thank you. And then I said, okay, a couple of us are really bad in our meetings, let's make $100 fine. Rule. That's the rule. Now anyone, because I own the business, tough, man. If I'm going to sit here on my cell phone during a meeting, but I don't expect anyone else, how can I do that? So I think, and that's based on agreement. The rule is the agreement. The agreement is we don't have cell phones in a meeting. The agreement is we come on time. The agreement is we honor our agreements. The agreement is we take responsibility. And that's the differential between behaviors and measuring behaviors and operations. Does that make sense?
100%. And I think it's also so important that we're not talking about perfection, because that's just not.
Perfection is unattainable anyway.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes, especially from a leadership perspective, that's how people operate, right? In terms of the operational rules and the behavioral rules. So you have your behavioral rules, but you have your operational rules. Like, do them perfectly, and it's just that's.
The point for me is to get better and better and better. I mean, goodness me, we're human beings. We make mistakes. We drop the ball. The question is, when you drop the ball, do you own it or do you make excuses? What do you want people to do? It's amazing. People say use your initiative, and then you penalize people when they actually make a mistake. how can you use your initiative and not accept people make a mistake? It doesn't work. So this idea of context goes way, way deeper than people think. But it's this consistency of building context over time. And over time you'll create an environment. If you look at it, this is my take on any great empire. All great empires were built on very strong context, and they all collapsed because they broke the context. They lost their values, their rules, their morals, and eventually they collapsed. And that's where the world sits, with a couple of, I believe, with a couple of big powers in the world at the moment, namely America and Europe.
Yeah.
Their context is broken. If it's broken, if not breaking, you know. And if you look at, as you build a business, how strong is it? Go back to, are you focused on context or content? You know, why do people get a windfall? I don't know, get a tender and suddenly have a lot of money. Well, why do they lose it? Because their context is weak. People win the lotto. They get $30 million. 3 years later, they have none. Why? Because of content? No, because their context is weak. Because their understanding of how to use money, manage money, utilize money, their context, their rules, their values and everything around money is weak. So they spend it. They have the wrong context.
Yeah.
So if you build the context, when you get something and put in the content, you'll maintain it. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I mean, 'cause I'm just now sitting and I'm going, okay, so if you're starting a business, focus on the context first, right? Like what are the values? What are the rules? What is the code of conduct? What is the philosophy? What is the mission of this?
Yeah. If you start any relationship, you know, we have some new people that are going to be joining our business soon. What's the first thing I start with them? Values, code of honor. This is how we play the game. I can teach them skills, but values, code of honor. If you don't fit into who we are, you're not going to fit in. I don't care how good you are at doing stuff, because we're going to create conflict in terms of who we are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because there's
You
the
know,
same rules that
if our culture is we braai every Friday afternoon at the office, and you don't like braaiing with a group of people at your company, well, you ain't going to fit in. So don't join the business. Oh, no, I want to be there, but I don't like this Friday afternoon bullshit. Well, don't be there, because that's what they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's, and I've heard you say it so many times, until the funny part is until it actually happened at a sales explosion, so you always say, like, if you're going to go work for a Muslim company, you know that on Friday they break, but for you, you want to say, no, but I want to stay. Can we keep the business open because I'm not Muslim and I stay here? Right, and we have a group of
so Shiraz.
Yeah.
So Shiraz, one of our clients, in his bearing business, I said to him, Shiraz, if I came to you as a salesperson, and I'm a Christian, but I came to work with you in your business, you're a Muslim company. And he said, yes. I said, on Fridays, you guys close from 12 to 2. He said, yes. I said, would it be acceptable for me to work? He said, no. So I said, okay. Well, the deal is that if I'm going into Shiraz's business, well, I must accept that that's how they operate, which means from 12 to 2. Okay, I don't, Shiraz didn't expect me to go to mosque, but no. Shiraz expected me not to work and not to be at the office and not to open the office. Well, great. Well, if I want to go work with, if I don't like that, then I mustn't go work with him. Does it make sense? You know, if, I mean, my business is a Christian-based business. So, you know, we, before every single meeting, every Monday we pray.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's what we do. Well, if you're so against that, well, don't come work for me. I don't force it down your throat or anything, but you are very clear that we're a Christian business, this is what we do before the meeting.
Yep.
So we sit in the meeting, we say a prayer, and that's what we do. Now, if that really is against your constitution, well, don't come work in my team. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Go find another team to work.
What you'll see people do is like, oh, okay, so you guys pray before the meeting starts. What I'll do is I'll come in 5 minutes after the meeting starts, so that, because I want to be on the team.
You're going to create mismatch.
Yeah, and then that can trickle down to other things very quickly, right? In terms of rules.
100%. Our team is another thing. So, as you know, within our team, we have a rule that says never abandon a teammate in need. And we could sign up an event for this weekend, yes?
Yep.
Today. Well, if we signed up an event for this weekend today, where would you be on Saturday? You get that? Because that's how we know that's how we play the game. Now somebody would say, oh, but I'll come if I get a month's notice. Okay, you ain't going to get that in our business, and that's not how we work. This is what we expect. If you want to play on this team, this is how we play. If you can't play like this, don't come and play. But the difference is we're clear up front. That's how we work.
100%.
Does it make sense? And then you have the opportunity of buying in. The problem is a lot of people right up front just focus on contents because they don't understand their context, and they don't sit down and are not very clear on this is how we play the game. This is our context. These are our values. This is our rules. This is what we expect. Can you play like that? Yes or no? If you can't, it's okay. You're not a bad person, ugly person. You're just not going to fit in. Does that make sense?
And I think that's also the funny thing about the world right now. It's like people are trying to force square pegs into round holes. If that's the saying. And it's become such an irritation for me personally because you see it on social media, right? So it's like, oh no, these guys kicked me out of some restaurant because I was wearing slops after 6, and their rule is that you can't wear slops after 6.
And don't make me to that restaurant.
It's so simple.
But I want to wear slops, so you must change the whole thing. No, we don't like our slops. And you know what? The reality is, if after 6 o'clock that restaurant has no one because everyone wants to wear slops, well, they may have to re-look at their rules. But the deal is that it's not up to you. Don't go to that friggin' restaurant. It's like saying, oh, I'm pissed off with McDonald's because I ordered Vos roll and pop, and they don't have it. It's friggin' ridiculous. Go to the Vos roll and pop friggin' shop. But that's what people want, Sully.
It is. It is. People want to shift rules to suit them.
It's so friggin' stupid.
It's ridiculous because I'm now sitting and I'm going, okay, but those aren't the rules, guys. Like, these are the rules. And like I always say, the rules of rugby are this. If you decide that you don't want to play with an oblong ball, then you can't play rugby.
You got it.
It's very simple.
So if you take it down to the simplicity, I just think, and you say that word, people are so overcomplicating stuff. How do you play the game? This is how we play. Do you like how we play? Yes. You know, if you're going to play rugby, you play by the rules of rugby. If you don't, you get penalised. If you rock up at rugby and say, you guys are a bunch of wussies because, I don't know, you jump on each other and we don't like jumping on each other, so you must change. They're going to tell you go play another game. So, and that appears to be logical, but so then why is it not logical in life and in business?
Yeah, it's the same. I feel like it is the same principles in business, right? And like you said earlier, where people go, but I need the job. And it's like, okay, you need the job, but you don't need the job here. You don't fit in here. This is not working for you or for them, right? So
there's so much more to doing a job and getting a job. A lot of people just want to get a job. They just want to get a job so they can have the result, but they don't want to do the job. And the do the job is not just doing the work. Do the job is fitting in, being part of the team, being an amicable person, being part of the environment. It's all the doing is a little part of it. It's the content, it's the skill. But it's when you want to, are you prepared to do a job? That encompasses so much more than just I rock up, do my job, and leave. It's who you are. I mean, how many times do you see in an organization where you have a person that's really good at what they do, but they're just the most miserable, friggin' horrible person around, and they make life horrible for everybody else. You can't fault them on whether they do their job or not. But they're the person that's whinging and whining. They're the first people to complain. They're the last people to pick up. They're friggin' horrible to have around.
Yep.
I'd rather have someone that really fits in and does their job half as good doing wise because I can train them up than have them, because in my experience those create way more issues than anything else. You know, take this concept to marriage. You know, think about it. If when you got married, and I wish I'd have known this, we had sat down and said, what in our marriage is going to create heat and pressure? Money, in-laws, children, schools, jobs, moving, houses, and you list those things. I don't know, there's probably no more than 10 big picture things. Yeah. And how would you know which ones to look at? Look at other married couples and figure out what they fight about or get divorced about. Okay, good. So when those things come up, how are we going to handle them? What are the rules that we want? How are we going to behave? What is our expectation around behavior? You create that when the content starts coming. When there's lots of content, there's heat and pressure. When there's a lack of content, there's heat and pressure. But what you do is you now, when those things come, when you have an issue with your in-laws, you've already discussed How are we going to deal with this? And you can take that into business partnership. How often do business partners get together? Oh, we have this wonderful idea. Suri and me are going to be millionaires. And we start working, and then the heat and pressure starts coming, and you like don't work on Saturdays, and I work on Saturdays, and I'm like, dude, but we've got stuff to do. Yeah, but I don't do that sort of stuff. I only work Monday to Friday. Now, we're doing well, but what creates the conflict? And it's the behaviors. And now I'm like, go home and I tell my wife, hey man, Sully and I are doing really well, but it really pisses me off that he doesn't work on a Saturday. And you go home and say, it really pisses me off that he expects me to work on a Saturday. And it's those type of behaviors that unless they're addressed, they create issues. So now you address those things right up front and say, this is what we expect.
Yeah, this is how we behave.
Does that make sense? So context is always way more important than content.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it was something that I learned, and we obviously had conversations around context, which allowed me to take that into my marriage early on. And then when we did hit the stage of lack of content, the context was there, which resulted in way less fights because we had a set of rules on how we operated in our marriage and like you say, it's like shit's gonna hit the fan. It's gonna happen.
Heat and pressure will always come to you.
Yeah.
A wonderful saying that I can remember my mum, she said it for years. When money flies out the door, love flies out the window. Now, if you know that's going to happen, sit down and then have a discussion and say, okay, when we have money problems, how are we going to deal with it? What are we going to discuss? How are we going to discuss it? How are we going to... And it doesn't mean those things will be easy, but they will be a lot simpler to deal with. Okay, it doesn't mean that being broke is just going to miraculously go away, but when you're broke, you're going to be able to deal with it in a much simpler, more effective method.
Yeah.
And that's the same in business partnerships, employer-employee relationships, teams, all that sort of stuff, because it's all the unsaid stuff that creates the issues. So how do you say it? Does that make sense? And that's context versus content. And, those of you that are out there that are listening to this, if you're building teams or want to build a team or want to build businesses, well, I spent a lot of time teaching this in my 5-day Ultimate Greatness Experience program, a program that I'm blessed to teach that was based on Blair Singer's the Ultimate Personal Development Program, it's called the Ultimate Greatness Experience. It's 5 days on how to build a team. It will teach you how to build context, it will teach you how to handle heat and pressure, and it will change your life. So if you are interested in that, just type in comment 5-day and or click on the link. Click on the link below and send us a WhatsApp message.
Where's the next one?
Where's the next one? It's back in Namibia. Man, we did the last one in Namibia. The next one's in Namibia. It's in March. Wonderful, wonderful venue.
Heat and pressure.
Wonderful place. Lots of heat and pressure. And I can't wait to go back there. And it's in March, end of March 2025.
Middle of summer in the desert. So you're already getting natural heat.
Now you're getting people to check it out, man.
Don't be a chicken.
People are going to have these little voices. If it wasn't that hot, then
The African people.
But people are going to have this nonsense. If it was in South Africa, I'd come. Come, man, you won't come.
See, he just answered your little voice. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of your book. Uncovering Greatness
bullshit.
I am Cindy, your host. This is Barry Mitchell. It has been fun. Work on your context. The content will come. Work on your context. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, as Barry said, you can leave us a comment in the comment section, or you can visit www.uncoveringgreatness.co.za, and you can leave us a message there, and we will get back to you. Focus on your context. The heat and pressure is coming. You'd rather be prepared than unprepared. See you guys next week.
Good job. Bye.